Well, welcome to the Shet Show, Abundance Conversations, where we talk about all things abundance. All right. Today, I'm going to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I thought I did. Today, we have a very interesting topic. It's a little bit different than how I like to typically hang out, but I felt that it was important to talk about normalizing grief and having conversations about that, a panel discussion. So obviously, the panel is of two right now, but that's okay. We might have some more guests that will be joining us at a later time or a later date. So, welcome. We are incredibly honored and delighted to extend a heartfelt welcome to our esteemed guest who will be joining us for a deeply important and meaningful conversation on normalizing grief. Your presence brings a wealth of experience, compassion, and wisdom that will undoubtedly enrich our discussion and touch the hearts of our audience. In today's episode, we're going to embark on a journey to normalize conversations around grief, understanding its complexities, and embracing the healing power of sharing our experiences. So, with your valuable insights and lived experiences, we aim to create a safe, empathetic space where understanding and support they thrive. So, your willingness to share your stories, your perspectives, and your guidance reflects an unwavering commitment to fostering empathy and providing solace to those navigating the profound and often challenging terrain around of grief. So your presence here underscores our collective dedication to breaking barriers, fostering understanding, and building a community where conversations about grief are not only normalized, but also embraced with compassion and kindness. Sorry, I'm somewhere it's loud. Once again, a warm and heartfelt welcome to our distinguished guests. Your participation elevates the importance of this conversation, and we're truly honored to have you with us on this journey of understanding and healing. Well, hey, I don't know what
Hello.
they're saying, but exciting, whatever it can be. Welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you. I don't even know if it was allowing you to put your name up there, but our very first guest of today's show is my very dear friend. If you all knew what this young man meant to me, uh, you probably have your own thoughts about whatever you're thinking about, but somebody that's been in my heart space pretty much my whole life. Um, I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience. Tell them where you are, where you hail from, and
Okay.
all right, and what brings you to the show today, Terrell? The mic is yours.
Well, you know what? I love this topic, normalizing grief. First of all, my name is Terrell Wilson from Flint, Michigan originally, and I've been here in Des Moines, Iowa since uh, like 1999. So I am a personal professional chef right here in Des Moines. I have my business is called United Nations Catering because we cater a vast range of cuisine and entrees. I didn't just want people to stereotype me with just soul food only. So that's kind of where the name came from because I dibble and dabble in a lot of things, and especially, um, no chef knows every recipe. So with us having YouTube at our fingertips, we can pretty much, if you can cook, you can pretty much make anything around the world. So that's kind of me, and that's what I do.
I appreciate that, and actually, it's crazy because you and I met at I think one of our first jobs, Taco Bell,
Yeah.
and you stayed in the industry. I still ate in the industry, but I definitely remember Clio Road Taco Bell, and
Yes.
just the good times that we had, man. So it's really good to, I mean, because you and I talk, right? But we haven't really unpacked professionalisms and what encompasses our professionalism to the level that we probably should, to just know what's going on with one another. So knowing that you cook, and knowing about your business, but just getting just getting to know you on a deeper level. I'm excited to have you on the show today, man.
Well, It's funny you bring up Taco Bell. That is so funny. Well, I grew up in that place, and if you ate at Playa Road Taco Bell in the '90s, I spent most of the '90s, some of the '80s there. You probably are familiarized with me. You're familiar with me. So I started that job, Charlotta, when I was 16 years old as a taco maker, fryer. That's all I did was fry tacos at 16. But you know what? I took that experience and that was a college because I started as a fryer, but I left 11 years later learning and knowing how to run a multi-million dollar business. So that's where I got a lot of my experience from as far as owning and operating within the restaurant industry. So I'm thankful for Taco Bell. Taco Bell don't owe me nothing.
Yes, and I heard they still making that meat the same way they was making it 15 years ago. So shout out to Taco Bell, home of the bubble guts. But I
Right?
digress.
But ain't
Hey
nothing better at
man,
2 o'clock in the morning.
listen, it's a nice run for your money for sure.
Right.
So we're just gonna kind of tap right in, Terrell. I know that I expressed to you before we started recording the show, about how important this topic is for me. Um,
Yeah.
I don't like to typically do a lot of talking when it comes to interviewing people. I feel like it's important for people to tell their story. We have an outline, but again, as you and I discuss, it's important to just flow in whatever space God will allow you to flow. It's just important for you to flow. So I feel very led to hear your story, but I want people to know a little bit more about me. There are some things that I guess I compartmentalize pain pretty well. And there were some things that people just never really knew about me, maybe until this year, or maybe they have never heard it until today. But normalizing grief is important to me. Number one, because as an empath, you feel the pain of the people that are around you. And you want to be able to comfort them and let them know that you can relate to what they're going through. And sometimes that's not always communicated in our society. Um, it was probably September September 1975. My mother had taken her last breath. She had just reached her 29th birthday.
My God.
And I was not yet two. My brother was three, Brian was three, and Dale, we have an older brother. He was seven at the time. And, you know, um, I do what I can to stay out of being legally, just like shaming people. But I'll just say that my father married my mother's best friend, and she raised us, and we had money, okay? But the way that we were raised was not in a way that we were able to show any type of emotion. It was seen as a form of weakness. We were never able to bring her up. And when we did, we either got beat. Our mother, when we brought our mother up, we got in trouble some kind of way. So that was a way, I think, as a child, that I learned how to navigate not expressing myself. And so I didn't realize, because everybody was calling their parent mama, right? I didn't have a mama. And probably in maybe third grade, I asked this young lady, could I call her mama? And so I called her mom throughout school, and everybody thought that that was my mother, but she was not that. Um, when I got uh, old enough, I kept running away. I was a runaway. We experienced CPS in a different space, and I ran away for the last time in the 12th grade on my 16th birthday, or 17th birthday rather. I graduated when I was 17. On my 17th birthday, I ran away for the last time, and I finally got the courage to start talking about things. But life was lifing, and And so I don't know that I've ever honestly grieved my mama until about 3 years ago. And now I'm 50 and I'm able to kind of start having these conversations. So being an expert at packing things in, right? Being an expert at not talking about it, it just, I think it gave me a different aspect. And then, and then I saw people who we were as we were getting older. I mean, we're 50s, night class of 91, right? We
Right.
50, 49, 50, 51, and you start seeing people around you pass away, and you realize that everybody just keeps moving. You know what I mean? So where is that stress going? Where is that grief going? So that's what I kind of want to talk about today, T. I'm gonna mic down and I'm gonna let you flow in however you need to flow and whatever you want to talk about. But that was the kind of the reason how I ended up getting on this path and then having the podcast. I started the podcast on August the 11th, 2023 in honor of my mother's birthday. I think she would be 78 had she been here today to share life with us, and nobody ever honored her. My mother don't even have a headstone. All right, so who was Shirley Ann? How do we live out her legacy? I'm 50 now and I still cry over my mother. So normalizing these conversations, this cycle of grief can hit you in a wave at any moment, at any time. And how do you navigate through that? And that's what I want to talk about today. So T,
Well,
I love you. I'm gonna let me let you do your thing.
well, as far as how I have dealt with grief in the past, well, now I'm a little bit more fluent with how to deal with grief. And what I've done is like I try to see the good so nobody has walked this earth in vain, whether we still have them or not. I lost my auntie and my cousin at a very young age. She was 22 when she was murdered, and they also murdered her 4-year-old son. It was drug related. That's all. I was 13 years old, and that's all I ever heard, that it was drug related. We don't know how, if she was selling it, if she was on it. But that taught me stay away from it. So the good thing that came out of that experience is that my aunt didn't die in vain, and neither did my cousin. No, we babysat our cousin all the time, so he was like another member of our family. So as far as me dealing with, and I see my mom still to this day mourns the loss of her sister and her nephew, which the good thing about it and how I dealt with it, I'm like, well, my life, had that not happened, my life probably would have went a totally different direction. I could have been on drugs or selling drugs, but I chose to just stay away from that completely. You understand what I'm saying? If I'm making any sense at all. And so I didn't understand, and we don't understand when things happen. Like Charlotte, your mom, you were brought here through her, and that's a great thing. And even your stepmom, how she treated you, that taught you how not to treat your children. So it's always something good that comes out of a bad situation. And I always say, you got to have the bad. You got to have the darkness as well as the sun, because good will not exist without bad or things that we consider bad. I look at this whole planet Earth, as a classroom. There's lessons that we learn on a day to day basis, which makes us and molds us who we are today. Fast forward, I lost my dad back in 2006. He was 57 years old. I was 37. I never experienced a pain like that before in my whole entire life, losing my dad. My daddy, he checked in the hospital Christmas Eve 2006, and he died unexpectedly. in 2006, Christmas Eve, and he passed away January 22nd, not even 30 days later. Okay. So, what I do, I go to feed the families of hospice every Christmas Eve in honor of my dad, to let people know we understand what you're going through. I firsthand, I have been there, and you're not in this alone. It's people that care. But a lot of times in these situations, people, you know, somebody loses their mom, their child, their dad. We don't know what to say unless you've been in those shoes. So people don't know how to deal with it. So I have always people, they'll say, well, let us know if you need anything. Your head is in the clouds. You don't know what you need at the time. So I just do it. If you have to go over there and take out the trash or just little acts of kindness, because we already know that there you don't really know what to say. You know, as an empath, you do, you just hurt for that person, you know. And so that's just kind of how I deal with things in a nutshell, because whatever I've learned that the laws of reciprocity is at work all day long. So when you go out, like if you're feeling bad, you know what you need to do? You need to go and help make somebody else's day and watch how that boomerang come back and smack you. You understand what I'm saying? And that's just how I do things in my life, how I live my life. Yeah, when I'm feeling bad, I need to figure out who am I gonna bless? And it's not just with money, it's time, talent, or treasure. And it works. It works. So that's just kind of how I've dealt with things in the past and the good that's come out of somebody's life and legacy here on this earth.
I love that perspective. You and I share that perspective. I think that you've always been an amazing person, funny, just strong, proud, right? But you're such a humanitarian. I'm hoping that Tamika is still able to join us today. She was excited to be on the show and have the topic. She was one of the first people that reached out to us. Perspective is everything. And sometimes having the right perspective can make a difference in where you are. But some of the people that I invited on the show, they're not there yet. They're not where I'm at. 75 was a long time ago. 2006 may seem like it was a long time ago to some people. Sometimes things feel like they just happened yesterday.
Yeah.
I just had a conversation with another friend of mine that graduated with us, and he just told me that he's just not ready. He's not ready. He thought that he would be ready. He's not ready. I had another a widow, a husband. I think this young man. I think he lost his parent had passed away. There was another young man that graduated with us. I don't know if he graduated with us, but I know you know him. I'll tell you who that is offline. And his wife had passed away. She decided that after their child had gotten murdered, that that she was going to stop drinking, and her liver shut down, and she passed away. And so we talking about 30 years of marriage, or that build. It's a lot. um, and so learning how to turn that, like you said, into a boomerang effect of being able to plant seeds. Sometimes people just really aren't there. So having our unique journeys, Terrell, can you tell us about a moment or aspect of your experience with grief that you're comfortable with sharing? Tell us about how grief has impacted your life in ways that others might relate to. This is the question that I'm going to ask and also answer for myself. So I'll answer that question for me. I take L after L, man. I take loss after loss, and grief can look like death. Grief can look like major diagnosis that came from out of nowhere. Grief can look like you lost your job after so many years. Grief can look like you thought that you were ready to retire and now you realize you don't have enough money and you got to go back to work, right? Grief
Right.
can look like a lot of things. So I'm not just talking about death in this instance. When we're talking about normalizing conversations, those losses can be one after another. Those blows can be one thing after the other, and it disrupts your whole psyche. And you got to sit on somebody else's couch, but you don't even want to admit that you need help, especially for our men. And I'm glad that you're here because we're talking about compacting the way that we feel, but our men do triple what women do in terms of compressing their feelings. So I'm gonna let you talk and mic down and answer the way you need to answer.
Well, what I've learned is that it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to cry and to let it out. I My mindset is different from a lot of people, because I don't mind. If I need to let something out and cry, I'm going to do that. You don't have to hold everything in. You can let it go. And that's not a sign of weakness. That is, and see, we think that if someone sees you cry or if you cry, that's a sign of weakness. No, that's a sign of being human. So, like Charlotte, I'm on get back to this just like with my dad when he passed away. He was my hero. Superman don't die, you know. Superman do not die. And it's like he was my first hero. And I never seen my dad really sick or anything. He went to work. He worked at Michigan Lumber for 29 years out in the cold. And so just analyzing people's life, and without my dad and planting those seeds, I probably never would have been an entrepreneur because I looked at his life. I'm like, he worked for somebody for 29 years. And he always said, well, son, when I die, I'm gonna leave you some money and maybe you can get your own restaurant. Well, that didn't happen. So a year later, I walked out of that job. I opened up my own business. I said, if I can work 60 and 70 hours a week and make somebody else's company successful, I can do that for myself. But don't be afraid to lean on others. Like I tell people, you know what? Friends and family, they use each other. They use each other to lean on. They use each other as far as support. Don't be misused or abused. It's a difference. People be like, you ain't gonna use me. No, don't even get the two mixed up. Use me. Don't abuse and don't misuse. Because that's what I brought around.
You talked about something a little bit earlier. People don't know what to say. I think is what you kind of alluded to. I
Yeah.
remember working at a funeral home, and I promised that I'd always work in the front because I didn't like what was going on in the back. You
Right.
know what I mean? And time after time, family after family, that's what you said. Call me if you need me. I don't know what I need. Oh, or they're upset because you didn't call. You know what I
Right.
mean? Um, can you really so do you think that it's a trust issue? So if you're feeling like it's 2 o'clock in the morning, okay, you just got woke up out of a dream that was just amazing about your loved one, and you woke up and you realize that person, it was a dream, right? That person is not here, and it hits you like a ton of bricks. You can call, who can you call at 2 in the morning that can hold space for you without telling you tripping? I don't have time for this. You need to pull yourself together. It's been long enough, right?
There's no
Don't
time
you think
limit.
that? Hmm.
There's no time limit on grief and mourning. This is a that's a whole private separate journey. And it varies from person to person. To where you lost your mom in 75, I lost my dad in 2006. That still impacts us to this day. But I tell people a lot of times your loved ones, because okay, your spirit never dies. I've had loved ones come visit me. To me, that's a visitation. That's a visitation from a loved one. That's just how I look at it. Charlotte, oh well, they came to visit me because I'll even ask people who lost people, well, have they came to visit you yet? You know, in a dream or a vision or what? Have they came to visit you yet? Because a lot of times that they will come and visit you through the dreams. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
and
So
Charlotta, and it's funny because you don't know when it's gonna hit you. You could be taking a shower, driving down the street, whatever, and it just like smacks you, just and drop on you just like a ton of bricks. Let it out,
yeah,
let it out. Those things will fester and they become cancerous to your body. If you just sit and you keep everything in, you keep everything in, that causes cancer. You know, let it go. Do the boomerang. Do the boomerang and see how good you feel. I just wish it was more support groups, like people that's lost their children amongst, and I'm saying amongst our communities, because yeah, we're 50 now. We have more years behind us than in front of us. So we look at things a little bit differently as far as perspective goes. The ones that's lost their children, I'm like, hey, reach out to one another. You know, that mama
yeah,
that just lost her child who don't even want to get out of bed because you can relate. You can relate. You can relate. I showed Charlotta, I showed up at my friend's job. I had just got off from work, and that little still voice said, "Go see Kira." Okay, okay, don't go to the gas station. Don't stop at the store. Go and see her. So I pop up at this woman's job. Charlotte, I don't pop up at nobody's job, but I was led and told to do so. So I walk into US Cellular because that's where she worked, and she was calling my phone at the same time. So I'm looking around and I'm like, Carol, I'm at your job. I said, but I don't see you. And she said, I'm in the back. I'm like, okay. She said, yeah, I'm on my lunch break. And she was bawling. She was a mess. She said, look at my hair. And I'm like, and I got to talking to her. And I said, you know what, Carol, I'm sent here for a reason. It's funny that you're calling me the same time I'm showing up at your job. And I was told to tell her, we never lost a child. We don't understand. But the quickest way for your healing is that you go and you help that mama who can't get out of bed herself. You hear you at work, you know, and she was 5 years into the grief, into the mourning of the loss of her daughter. I don't know if anybody remembers H1N1. So she lost her daughter and her dad within a month of each other, natural causes. So that was a very tough pill to swallow. And so that's what she have been doing. She's been help counseling mothers who've lost their child. Because a lot of times that's horrific. We can only imagine. But people, oh well, I can just imagine what you're going through. No, when somebody understand and been there, who they want to listen to? The imagination or somebody that's already been in there in them shoes. So I was sent to her job to tell her that it's okay. Go and help that mama where it's very fresh. Yeah. It's
yeah. That's some heavy stuff, and this is not an easy journey. None of this is easy.
None
Um,
we don't get out alive, do we? None of us gonna
we
make it out
definitely
alive.
don't get out of it alive. And so there's not going to be a time where we can be pristine and, poised for these conversations. These are nasty, dirty, ugly conversations. It's the corner of the baseboard that sits behind the couch. You know what I mean? That you ain't cleaned in umpteen years, because you get around to it when you can get around to it. This is not, it's not going to be easy. I want to talk a little bit about coping mechanisms. um, there are people that believe that God did not put more on them than what they're able to bear. They stop there at that scripture, but I digress, right? Um, and so they don't accept the fact that they are depressed, or accept the fact that they are experiencing anxiety or a panic attack, right? Um, so, talk to me a little bit about the day to day coping mechanisms. You mentioned that you had gotten to a space where, you were giving back to the community, and for hospice during this time of the year, every Christmas. That's your mantra. That's your thing. That's your why, right? But there are so many people that are just not even there. And I'm talking about, I am not, I was hoping that Tanya could come on the show today. I'm not a licensed professional counselor or anything like that. I'm nobody's pastor by any stretch of the imagination. But as a leader, a lot of people come to Shirletta for unpacking of their stories, and they're always thanking me for the information that I give them. And I can tell them that they're depressed, right? But I don't want to tell them that they're depressed, even though they know that they just not, they call it, not, I'm just not in a good space right now, or I've been in a dark place, right? They don't actually identify it with that. So when you talk about the coping mechanisms, I just mentioned waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and the reality of that person is not there. I've seen so many Facebook posts just this year, and I have a new Facebook page, okay, where people are just not coping well.
Hmm.
So go back to that point where things were really fresh with you and your dad, and the loss of him and the impact that it had. How did you get from that point to where you are right now, to be able to pour it back into somebody?
He came to visit me in a vision, because when he left, it was very unexpectedly, and we buried him on a Saturday. I was back in Iowa that Monday, and things was not, you know, he didn't prepare himself as far as, well, he had insurance and all that stuff, but it was some things, some loose ends that should have been tied up, and he didn't. And I'm like, wow. And so I was kind of angry at him for that. And it wasn't until he came to me and visited me in that vision that I had. And he said, and I was a baby, and Monique, my sister, she was a toddler, because we're 2.5 years apart. And once he said, I loved you too more than anything in the world, that was 6 months after he had passed away. And right there, instantly, and when I say instantly, all of that pain, hurt, blaming him for things left, immediately left, because God knew how I was feeling, and I had all that hatred and mad and bitter in my heart. So he came to me because God didn't want all that mess in me. I know he didn't, because that's all it was, and it was not true. My thoughts was not true. So you know what, Charlotta? And that's how I dealt with it. And as the years went by, Then I learned the boomerang effect and started doing that, and it works by reaching out to people. But yeah, that's it in a nutshell. It's very simple. You know, he came to me in a vision, and instantly, instantly, it was nothing that I even really had to work through. The 6 months prior, yes, because it was horrible. You know, and I didn't want to think that about him because oh, you didn't care nothing about us. You didn't do this. You didn't do that, and you lied to me. That's what I you lied, but not really, because he had 3 months from diagnosis to death. He did the best he could. And as a father, as young, when you having kids at 16 and 17 years old, you're a kid yourself. You know, I know the space that I was mentally at that age. And to me, for them to be as young as they were with two children, they did a damn good job. My hat is off to them. So just spending a lot of time being led, being obedient, that that's what gets me through and leaning and relying on each other, Charlotta. That's how we use me. You know what I mean? Use me. If I can help you, it's for me to help you. But if I can't, that's somebody else's job.
It's crazy that everything is just in flow right now, right? Um, I think that the support systems that we have to have in place are particularly important.
Yes.
Um, Talk to me a little bit about um, where you found your strongest support system. Um, I know that church is a go-to for some of the people that watch the Shet Show, Abundance Conversations, but there are some people that feel that the one pillar of strength that they had has been gone, and there's nowhere else to go to find another person that could even begin to fill the shoes of the person that you lost. So, in thinking about the support systems, um, I'm going to let you answer that. Of course, I'm going to answer it first for myself, but I found Tamika Alford, Hajan Lee, um, Phil McAdory, Ron Deloney, a lot of the people that I was growing up around. Um, Music. I delved in music. I probably would be in production and music right now, learning
Learning,
reading,
reading.
had I
Had
stayed on that path. But talk to me about your support system. Um, for me, it was just going to school. Everything that what I wanted to do as far as going to school, I excelled in my grades and my book I wrote. But I literally didn't find that type of quote unquote support system with coworkers and stuff until I left the house. So what type of ways did you where was your go-to? Everybody don't always have good go-tos, right? They'll turn that bottle right up, you know.
Well, I know I did my share of that. Let's just be honest. But I had I had some of the best friends anyone could ask for because jumping on that plane, coming back to Iowa with no blood here, but I had my Iowa friends who I consider family. When they broke the news to me, and when I found out they came over in shifts, I was never alone from when I got the news till I got on that plane going back to Flint. So I had a strong support system, outside of family because I don't know if anybody know, but grieving, coming home somewhere where you don't have any family and you buried a close family member like that, that's very difficult. Very, very difficult. But I did. Them folks, they looked out for me. and traveling back and forth, that gets costly when you're trying to run a restaurant. And like I said, 3 times from diagnosed to death, I had to fly to Flint or whatever and whatnot. They bought a plane ticket for me, after I had exhausted all of my little cash flow. But I had a very strong support system. So therefore, in return, I had to pay it forward to somebody else. So that's how I cope. That's how I'm still coping. I can't get along on this earth without other people. And it's a mindset, Charlotta, when people understand and realize that, hey, we're all in this together. And ain't none of us gonna make it out alive. What are you gonna do for your brother or your sister? It says love thy neighbor like it love yourself, like you love yourself. Why does it say that? And neither am I a counselor or anything but experience. When you have experienced a few things, then you know. And once you know, you cannot unknow. And that's all. That's
Well, if you're just tuning in, we've been talking for a little bit about normalizing grief conversations. This is a panel discussion. Here on the Shet Show, we like to talk about all things abundance, but I'm discovering that in this abundance journey, that there are some people that feel that even that word is unreachable. One of the reasons that they feel like that word is unreachable or unattainable is because they haven't yet found a way to unpack the pain, um, and the devastation from the loss of somebody that they have loved. And I see people having a conversation with me, telling me, you're so strong. I don't I don't know that I have anything different than anyone else. I think that the dark side of that is that you can do such a good job with keeping people, so far away, pushing people away because you don't want people to get close. It can work on the reverse too. But having an accountability partner, I feel like, is important. In business, we get a personal trainer, right? We get a prayer partner. We have an accountability partner, but when it comes to certain topics that we don't really want to discuss or feel that are important, we really don't. We don't have that. Coping mechanisms for me, I want to talk about that a little bit, and then I'm going to shift to the next question, and we're going to get out of here. Um, Coping mechanisms for me. I learned that my stepmother wasn't the best person, right? And so I still, for a while, even in my teens and my late teens and my 20s, I still found myself trying to, just have a mom, man. I just wanted a mom. I didn't know why I wasn't worthy of a mom. And so I would go to the churches and I would connect with these older women. I thought that they would treat me like their daughter, and they judged me and treated me just like, the person that I just left. And then I started studying different things about just the law of attraction and how our thoughts become things. Um, I paralleled them with the word of God, right? Because God said that we can have whatsoever we say. And so I began to study other people. I studied Maya Angelou. I studied some of the people, the Iyanla Van Zants and some of Lisa Nichols, some of the people that had really experienced something, somebody that really could tell me um, how to come off of mute. Because when you have that type of grief and devastation, it shuts it shuts your vocal cords up in a spiritual way that you can't really express unless you're expressing it on the creative side. So music, dancing, your talents, your gifts, cooking for you, right? Expressing your gifts and really understanding how critical, how vital tapping into your gifts at that moment of grief will really catapult you into the next dimension of your life. People don't really know how to do that. So taking your time, but being very intentional about everything that you say and the people that are around you. You knew they were snakes, right? You
Right.
keep giving them a pass, but you knew that they was a snake even before they started coming for your mama's money or your daddy's money or whoever died. You know how we fight over stuff,
Over stuff.
right? So that's another blow. And then you have people that just, instead of just coming out and saying, hey, I don't even really know what to say right now, dog. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know what to say. So you let yourself say something, and we hold on to those words to add to the pain that we're already experiencing from the loss of the people that we've had to say goodbye to. So learning how to unlearn some things, I feel like, is important. Knowing that nobody is showing up, those superheroes, and I don't know if they became our ancestors, but there's not a lot of people that will intentionally say, hey, Terrell, I'm just calling to check on you, man. Calling to make sure that you good. You can miss me with that. You not good right now. What's up? And really holding your feet to the fire on that, man. You are an angel. And there are several angels that are out there, but recognizing when we have one, um, recognizing when we have angels around us. So thank God for your soul tribe. I call it a soul tribe. Those people that are surrounded by us, that are connected to us spiritually in a way that that might not be a part of our DNA. They might not look like us, right? And that's going to lead me to my very last question for today. I think we need to figure out how to have these conversations more often, like you stated before. You talked about this, me and you talked about this offline. The grieving widows, the mothers that have lost someone, lost their child due to acts of violence. People that have just passed away suddenly. COVID devastated us, right? So the last question that I have for you is just guidance for others. So for those that are currently navigating grief, um, what gentle advice or words of encouragement would you like to offer?
For those helpmates, you know what? Utilize your talents. Like you said, you went on mute. But if you utilize your God given talents, like mine is cooking. So guess who's one of the first people at the house with a pan of food? Me, or you have just gotten out of surgery or whatever. Guess who's showing up with some food? Me. So I utilize God gave me this gifts, not for me to just sit on them, but to utilize them. And I suggest people, even if you are the one that's grieving, you work through it and it's going to be okay. It's all right. And it's fine for you not to be okay at a time. It's okay. And just like you said, Charlotta, we men, we act like that it's a sign of weakness. That's not a sign of weakness. So and just keep going. Just keep going. Sometimes if you got to take it hour by hour, minute by minute. I like to do a lot of meditations when I'm upset or whatever. Try to sit and still myself. Work on my breathing techniques. Breathe. Breathe. And that's about all I have to add to it, Charlotta. Thank you once again for inviting me to your show. It's been a real pleasure. And that's
Yeah,
it.
man. Um, I want to add to that, right? We've talked about coping mechanisms. We talked about, having people around you and accountability partners, and just being angry, right? There's the 5 cycles that we go through. It's a cycle,
Mhm.
and I think it's like Basically, the devastation is another word for that. So you're in shock, and then you're angry, and then you're sad, and then you're hopeful, and then you feel the need to get up and rise again, and then sometimes you feel helpless. Um, Remember who you are before your title, before your go back to the beginning when you were a kid and there was no acronym on the front or the back of your name, right? There was no title to be held for you. There was no office to drive to. There were no bills in your name, right? All before you became who you were. God said that He knew you, right? You were formed in the belly of your mother's womb, and you are known. You are known. If you're breathing, you have a purpose. You might not know what that purpose is, and that might be even depressing, right, for you. But depressing to me is equivalent to deep rest, right? Take a nap, like you said, take a shower, take a meditation class, do some yoga, go in the gym, do some boxing, get intentional about getting at least one part of your body right, right? Like you might be a drinker, smoker, carb person. You might do everything wrong, but this one thing, you're going to get up and you're going to do 25 jumping jacks every day, or you're going to journal every day, or you're going to go to your place of worship every week. You're going to be involved. That one thing, that consistency in that thing is really going to make a difference. I know that it seems like your life has been completely disrupted. I don't know the Tamika Thompsons and the Cam Kims and a couple of other people that have lost their husbands and their wives, man, after years. Charles Banks, you know what I'm saying? Dana's husband. Like, I cannot imagine what the the blow must be to losing the patriarch of the family, right? But I know that something has to be on the other side of that. If you ever watch Stranger Things or you know about the upside down world, is something on the other side of that. If you can just figure out how to get there, and maybe it's not in this moment, right? It may not be in this moment, but if you can believe, that's why I got this thing on my background, these negative emotions that try to permeate us in our mind and letting us know that we need to go ahead and off ourselves because life is not worth living. We don't find purpose or value in life anymore. And I'm here to let you know, to be a beacon in your light, in your lane. Do whatever it is that you were called to do. Do it the way that you were called and sent to do it. Forget everybody else and whatever their rules are. Play by your own set of rules. Set your own boundaries. Live your own life, man. And really be doing more than just existing. Figure out a way to live. That might look like sitting on somebody's couch. That might look like therapy sessions. That might look like psychotropic medication. That might look like whatever it might look like. You having weekly sessions with your pastor or your parishioner. That might look like whatever you need it to look like. But I need you to know that you got purpose. You know what I'm saying? And as long as you connected to me, we don't wake up to lose. We're very intentional about what we coming to do in this thing called life. While we in this body, we gonna maximize our dash until the end. We all gas, no brakes on everything that's trying to disrupt us from being who we were sent here to be. So get to your sent to. Find out who you are, man. Who are you really? Outside of that key that you got to that thing that you turning on and off your brand new phones and your tickers, right? Who are you? Operate in that thing, man. And when you operate in that thing and you find your creative lane and your creative space, the world has to recognize you because your success is inevitable. And that's a fact. And if you need a scripture to stand on, I'm going to tell you to go to Psalms 1, right? I'm going to end with that. I'm not a Bible thumper, but blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of the sinner, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law does he meditate day and night. And he should be like a tree planted by the rivers of the water, which bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf shall also not wither, and whatever he does, it shall prosper. That's why I say my success is inevitable, and that's a fact. So we're going to keep normalizing these grief conversations so we can heal. Terrell, I thank you for being a part of the show today. I thank you for being a part of my life. I thank you for being a part of my soul tribe. I thank you for being my accountability partner. I thank you for what you're doing over in Iowa. I thank you for what you're doing to the nations, uniting them with flavor and soulfulness and food.
Yeah.
I gotta have you as a part of my tribe, man, on a global level, so that people can see your light in a more intentional way. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for being a man of your word. Thank you for being my friend, man. Thank you for helping me through today, because before I turned on this record, y'all don't even know. You don't even know what I go through, man. You don't even know. You
you know,
just think that I'm just showing up. But I promise you, I got these Clarissa Shields hands in these spiritual streets, man, because I'm under attack too.
yeah. But you
So
know what, Charlotte?
what's that?
You are helping others. That's that boomerang that I keep coming back to. You're under attack. But you know what? With you helping out others with your inspiration, your knowledge, your wisdom, you just don't know, because when you minister to somebody else, you're also ministering to yourself. So keep on going, honey.
Hmm.
Keep on going.
Well, thank you so much for that. I want y'all to be well today, man. Whatever it is that you're doing in this thing called life, don't sweat the small stuff. Like Terrell said, it could show up as cancer, right? That's a fact. Hello. Right. But it also could show up as diabetes, high blood pressure. It also could show up as a benign tumor. It also could show up as neuropathy. It could show up as whatever. Right.
What they
Where are
say,
you holding space? Hmm?
body that's not at ease is dis-ease, disease. So just try to keep your body at ease.
Oh my God, this is a pleasure, man. Let's keep it alive. Y'all tune in next time on the Shet Show. Abundance Conversations, where we talk and have conversations for storytelling for people from all walks of life, man. So if you got a story that you think is worth having the world to share, I'd love to have you on the show. I never charge my guests to be a part of the show, but it's time that we heal. And so we got to have uncomfortable conversations like normalizing grief. Okay. So we'll see y'all next time on the Shet Show. Y'all know my shenanigans might start at about, I don't know, 2:30, 3 o'clock, 4. But laughter is medicine, man. So y'all be well. I'm all gas, no brakes on that. All right. Terrell,
Uh,
is it anything that you want to say before we get out of here, beloved?
You covered it all. You covered it all. Thank you so much once again.
All right, y'all. We'll see y'all next time on the Shed Show.
All right. Bye bye.
Hold on, to.